Welcome and good day, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the third Sherpa Sundays podcast. I hope everyone is looking forward to this one because I for sure am. Welcome in, everyone. How is everyone doing? As you guys know or not know by now, my name is Seiko, your host of today, and we have a very special guest with us today, Mr. Jonny. Welcome in, man.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here with a topic I'm very fond of.
I think it's a very favorite topic for me that we're going to be talking about today. And Jonny's sound level sounds super low. Okay, let's sort that out right away. Let me know if it's any better right now.
Yo, hello.
We should be a bit better there. It's the man who taught us dorms. Yes. So, who doesn't know me, I'm Seiko. I've been a Sherpa for almost a year now. I love teaching players. That's why we're, of course, also doing this podcast. I love to play tournaments as well in Tarkov. I love to PvP a lot in Tarkov. And honestly, Reserve Bunker is one of my favorite places to fight in. So I'm really excited for today to be talking about this. And we're joined, of course, by the special Jonny, who recently put out a video about the bunker itself. So it should definitely be a topic that he knows a little bit about, I'd say, today. Before we jump in the topic today, I would like to just get you guys to know Mr. Jonny as a Sherpa and as a content creator, of course, because some of you might know him of his videos about Tarkov, about the bunker, about dorms. I think is what a lot of people might know him from. So yeah, Jonny, give us a quick introduction before we jump into some questions.
Hi. I am Jonny, and I've been playing Tarkov since like I know I got the game the first week of 2018. So I've been playing for like over what is it, 2022 now?
It's like
know,
4 years.
Yeah, almost like 5 years or something. But like I would say like the first couple of years I was definitely not like a hardcore player. I was like one of those you play it and you realize you're terrible at it, and then you kind of try it a little bit once every couple months or something. So it took me a while to like actually get super into it. But yeah, I found out about Tarkov from a friend. He had sent me a video. I actually just messaged him before. I was trying to figure out what the exact video was. I can't remember it, but it was like end of 2017. It was like a YouTube video. It was like a couple of dudes sit in a circle all on PCs, and they were fighting scavs at Shoreline Tunnel Extract. And
Classic.
They made it sound so intense at the time. Like it was back when like there was like a lot of scavs that would like spawn in there, and like yeah, they I think they thought they were fighting players or something, and they got it sounded so intense. I'm like, this game looks so sick, I gotta try it. And yeah, so I got it right after the new year in 2018.
Funny. That's a long while ago from here then, in that case, and you're still with Tarkov. So I think that's what Tarkov does to some of us, right? Like when you even get into it, then there's like no way back to other games anymore. It feels like to me sometimes.
Yeah, I'm a little hooked at this point.
So was it your friend that introduced you to Tarkov then?
Yeah, he introduced me. But he didn't even play the game. Even to this day, he doesn't play it. He just saw it and thought it was cool and showed it to me. And I was like, transitioning to like PC gaming at the time instead of console stuff. So it just happened to be one of like the first games that I really got into after like
making a transition.
Battle Royales, like PUBG and stuff. Like those were like my first couple.
Yeah, I came from PUBG too, so I understand that transition. You bought Tarkov. What did you do your first wipe?
So like at the same time I was like just beginning streaming too, and I remember I would like stream myself pretty much playing like Shoreline exclusively, and I was like terrible. And
aren't we all the first wipe?
Yeah. But I think when I like first got the game, I was trying to run it on my laptop. Though I'm running through like this like I was trying to run it on my laptop. It didn't work, and then like once I got like a gaming PC, I tried it a little later on, and then it actually like worked better, and that's when I like really got into playing it. And I remember like I was just starting streaming, and someone like came in my chat and was like pretty much like, "You're terrible. Let me help you." And
Oh, really? Like that? You just came in like, oh man, this guy needs some
yeah,
help figuring it out.
and then I was we played a bunch of Factory. I remember that. So like I don't know. That's like I don't remember a lot from like the early days. I know I like could not get better at the game no matter how hard I tried. But that those are like little bits I remember. Getting told I was bad, playing Factory, dying a lot. And
I mean, it's a
I
great
do
way to get
yeah,
better at the
yeah,
game.
yeah, I guess so.
And I can remember for myself like running Factory endlessly, like my first wipe, just trying to figure out how to kill people close range and not like just panic or die or like how does the peeking work and all that. Like Factory is a great place for that though.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So a bit fast forwarding then, but when did you start making like actual educational videos about Tarkov then? Was that like something you've
So
always wanted to do, or?
I actually started making videos on TikTok, just because I I don't know. I felt like I had tried making YouTube stuff a lot in the past for like other things, and I'm like, YouTube's too hard. I put all this effort into videos, it doesn't get any attention, and I'm like, why am I gonna do it? But TikTok is big, so I can still have fun video editing. I can play the game I want to play, and the videos are short, so I don't have to like put a crazy amount of effort into them and be like bummed if they don't do well or something. So like I started making TikTok stuff, and they actually end up doing really well. And I was having fun with it, and I'm like, you know what? These are fun, but now I'm kind of bored of TikTok, so let me go back to making YouTube videos. And I made a really bad video on reloading, which is like my first video on my channel,
Mm-hmm.
and I put that out, and I refused to watch it because I hate it. But then a little while later, I just started. I had like thousands of clips of like fighting people and stuff that just like I just like kept recording and stuff like between like doing the TikToks and just like liking recording footage of gameplay. And then I was like, you know what? Let me start trying to make videos again, and I'll just make them the way I want to make them, and just like not care and see how it happens. And yeah, I've been making the videos for like 5-6 months now or something.
Yeah, I think it's going fairly well. I think for me personally, my first video I saw of you was the Dorms PvP guide.
Mm-hmm.
I think making videos about PvP is quite hard because it's such an extended big topic, right? Like, how are you gonna teach someone to PvP in one video?
Yeah.
But I think you nailed it by making it about one location, right? Like everyone struggles with dorms in the beginning, or even now, it's a really hard place to fight in for a lot of us. So, like, is that like what you were like? Okay, I have a lot of trouble with dorms, or I'm really good at dorms. I'm gonna teach someone about dorms specifically, or how did that go?
I kind of was like, I don't know. I just knew I really liked fighting in dorms. I think like uh I realized because I always liked like fighting there or whatever, but like I realized I liked it a lot more when I got one of those like uh weeklies. I think that was like
Mm-hmm.
it's like extract from customs like 60 times or something crazy like that.
Wow.
You know,
Okay.
just like one of like the really gnarly ones. You know, like it's just like the ones
did,
where it tells you
did you
extract
do
a
it?
ton. Yeah. So basically, I was like, the best way to do this is I'm just going to go to dorms and hit car, and
Yeah.
car isn't
Just
there all the
rinse and
time, but
repeat.
yeah, and like I'm just gonna fight someone or whatever, and then get out, and then like I just got like hooked into this like dorms loop of just like sprinting to dorms, and then like fighting people there, and then it just like became like
A
I didn't
thing.
have to think about it, and
Yeah.
like I was just doing it over and over, and then. Uh, I don't even know if there's like good rewards from it or whatever, but like I just really wanted to beat it, like and like just like
You were stuck in the talk of
yeah
grind, my man. Now I
yeah
can recognize that one.
yeah yeah, and then so I don't know. Eventually, like stemming off of that, I had a bunch of footage. And I was like, you know what, like I think making a dorms guy would be pretty cool. I don't think anyone's
Done
really
it.
made
No.
like well like there's like some guides and stuff there, but like I don't think anyone's kind of really broken it down
Explained
to
it.
like
Yeah, really. Yeah.
yeah Yeah, like lots of people like kind of like go over like, you know, like shortcuts or like
Yeah, here's a cool jump spot, man. Jump down here,
yeah,
and then you can kill people. And then
yeah,
most
yeah,
people are
and
just figuring out how to enter dorms without getting shot straight away.
yeah, and like that was kind of like what I wanted to make it for. Like what would be most helpful for someone that it's like they're just starting to run customs and they know dorms is the
The
tough guy
hot
spot.
spot, yeah.
So like what would they need to know? And that's what I kind of tried to make it
Yeah,
for.
I think it
So
worked really well. And now you did it with reserve, and here we are. Yeah, I have one
yeah.
question for the chat before we move on. Is that your recording chair in the background there?
Oh, no, that's my girlfriend's setup. She yeah, we're just like back to back, so yeah,
Cool.
it's nothing too interesting.
Cheeky question: does he play
Easier
Tarkov?
to yes, she does.
Oh,
She hasn't played much
nice.
this wipe, but like the past, so she started like 2 or 3 wipes ago, and she was like super hooked. But um, yeah, this current wipe we're in, and she has not played much, just because real life stuff. So, but she's planning on going hard again with this coming wipe. She's
Sounds like a killer duo
yeah.
to come across in the bunker.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's fun playing with her. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Fast forward. We're nearing wipe, right? I think something really important, of course. Wipe starts. You have your fresh account. What's gonna be the first map or first raid that you're gonna do after a fresh wipe? You're cutting out, I think, audio wise.
How about now?
Yeah, much better.
Wait. Okay, cool. So first raid of the wipe. Well, what I did this wipe, which worked out really well, was and like I haven't really done this in previous wipes. I just kind of tried it out this wipe. Was I would pretty much run nighttime reserve, and I'd stay above ground, and I'd be pretty much looting all the loot locations I know of where I can get all my quest items out of the way for like coming quests, like my Slewas, my Morphines, all my like, um, you know, mechanic quests for like farming and you know, just like any like quest where you need like collect a bunch of items, like even like
Yeah,
the shoreline quests down the line, like where like or not
yeah, the
shoreline, wet dog,
alkaline and all that. You mean?
yeah, all
Yeah, the
those, yeah,
bleach
yeah.
and the whatever, the wipers. Yeah. I got it.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
I get all that stuff out of the way in the beginning while everybody's running customs like the first 24 hours, and then I worry
Trying to
about
get that
customs
one
a little bit later
Saliwa
on.
done right and fighting over the pocket watch. Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Too many people pushing crack house hoping for that like slim chance of getting a Salewa, you know. And I'd rather just kind of progress quickly,
It's a smart way
or
of
like
doing it. It avoids a
preemptively
lot
do
of
it.
hotspots, I guess, doing that way.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
That's a pretty good start, man. A pretty good start. Okay, so also about next wipe, we heard Nikita say something about quests being tossed around. Are you hyped or looking forward to that?
Um, Yeah, I didn't hear specifically what he said exactly, but I did like hear through like people telling me that it was said that there's going to be some quest switch ups and stuff. I'm all for it. While I love you know, the first few quests you do in the game, it after doing it for years,
It
it
becomes like an automatic thing, right? Like, okay, I do this
yeah,
quest and then that one and
yeah,
then that one. It's
yeah.
gonna be refreshing.
Yeah, I want different quests, and I want to you know, it's more of a challenge when you don't know the coming quests ahead, and you can't just, you know, do what I was saying I was doing, just getting all the items ahead of time for stuff that like I know is going to happen later, so I can just like do it instantly. I like the challenge of having to like hunt for stuff and whatnot. So
Yeah, like a new
yeah,
routing, having to figure stuff out. I think that's really. I think it's gonna be really cool for us to like figure out what the new way of doing quests will be and how much will be tossed up and all that. Just the
yeah,
uncertainty of things is refreshing to me. I'm looking forward to that.
yeah,
Okay,
for sure.
before we wrap it up a little bit, we have two more very important questions to ask you. First, everyone that comes on the podcast obviously likes to teach players or is a Sherpa themselves, and we ask them what is the one question, or sorry, the one tip you would give a newer player. So if there's like one thing you would say to everyone that's new to Tarkov, what would it be?
This is very representative of like the way I like to play and stuff. And like obviously everybody has like different ways they like to play and stuff. But I always
Yeah.
tell people, don't be afraid to make noise. I feel like you have a lot of time what you run into with beginner players, they'll end up hiding, which
Yeah.
is fine. Like
Sitting
sometimes
still in the bush.
sometimes you need to do it. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. But then they'll be like terrified of making a sound.
Yeah.
And then they'll like accidentally turn too fast or like ADS or something.
And it's like, oh,
And-
I'm dead now.
yeah, and but then they don't move after.
Yeah,
It's like, dude, if you make a noise or like you go somewhere and then you just stop moving, like, and anyone's in like, you know, like a 40 meters of you, they're gonna hear you. Like, and like they're gonna hear where that sound last happened and they're gonna assume that you're still there. So like, don't be afraid to make a noise. Just like keep moving around. It's like it's way harder for anyone at any skill level to kill a moving target than it is to kill one that's sitting still.
Yeah, of course.
So
we
that
all
is
know
what I
that guy is sitting still in a bush. And you're like, oh no, poor new player sitting there waiting for something to happen. I think it's a great advice, my man. Okay, and then last but not least, and this is a question that also is for everyone in chat. Any guesstimation when wipe is?
I will say when I hope it is.
That's also okay.
I hope it is like the day or two after Christmas because I don't want to have to worry about grinding on Christmas Day.
Oh, we've had that 2 years ago. Remember that?
Yeah,
And
I know.
It was like I was
Yeah.
sitting at my Christmas dinner, and I'm like, okay, I want to play Tarkov. I want to play Tarkov. I want to play Tarkov.
yeah. So that's what
All
I
right.
got.
Are we ready to move on to our famous, actually, topic today, which will be about reserve bunker PvP? Are you ready for it? All right. Let's jump in here and talk about what we really wanted to talk about today: reserve bunker PvP. We're gonna start with a short introduction about what's reserve bunker PvP, why we're picking it as a topic, even I guess, and why it could be so hard, I guess, for some people. We'll talk a bit about the entrances, of course, the layout of the bunker itself, what sound cues are there and could you use in your advantage to become better in the bunker. A little bit about positioning, some flanks that are very often used or that you could potentially use, and we'll cover some angles that are very often to be taken by a lot of players. And then, of course, we cannot skip the raiders, which are definitely putting a big mark on the reserve bunker. I think we've all died to them or gained a lot of gear from them, so it's quite an important part of it. And last but not least, as far as the topic itself goes, we have to touch on D2, what we're seeing on the screenshot behind us, of course. D2 and the campers, or the infamous campers, I should maybe say, is definitely part of why it can be fun to fight in the bunker or not fun in the bunker.
Yeah.
And last but not least, we have some tips and tricks for you guys. And any questions that you might have, feel free to put them in chat right now. We're gonna take note of them and answer them after the podcast topics that we have prepared for you guys. So I'm gonna start with an introduction. Let's talk about reserve itself first, right? Like, in my opinion, and I hope Jonny agrees with me on this one. Well, I love reserve as a map as a whole, not only the bunker but as a whole, because it has a little bit of everything. Like you can snipe from dome if you want to and have a great raid. If you wanna like CQB PvP, there's a lot of CQB buildings, the palm building, school. You can go down in the bunker that we're gonna talk about. Like there's a lot of CQB PvP possible. A lot of people love to go there for those reasons, right? So you're gonna meet like-minded people. We have PvE, of course, with being Gluar, which is sometimes the most terrible boss in the game if he's standing somewhere outside. Like we've all had that raid where you spawn in reserve and before you've even moved, it's like already Gluar like shouting his voice lines and shooting his M1A your way. And of course you also have raiders in the bunker at Hermetic. So there's PvE, there's gear to be gained from that, there's money to be made for that. And maybe not as good as it used to be. Like the golden reserve days are a little bit over, I'd say. but it's still a really good map to loot. I think it's underrated. Sometimes you can, really get good loot and get out very quickly because of the extracts, of course. But yeah, it's a very diverse map, I'd say. And that's why I really like going there. You have a little bit of everything. You can play the map however you want to play it. There's no one way to play it, if that makes sense. But the thing that we're really going to touch today on, of course, is the bunker PvP, which is, I think it's a very scary pace for a lot of people. What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's scary because of a couple of reasons. Big reason being, I think it's I always compare it to learning the tunnels in Factory for the first time. Like it can seem impossible. Like these tunnels, they make no sense, and you don't know where you are because there's lots of stuff that looks the same and whatnot. But yeah, bunker's kind of like the same way. The first time you learn it,
I was absolutely
it's
lost the first time I went in there.
Yeah,
And it felt like every hallway was exactly the same.
yeah.
But
Sure.
yeah, we'll cover that a little bit. Okay, speaking about entrances, you want to talk a bit about the entrances and the ways to get in the bunker, Jonny?
Yeah. So for me personally, I think the biggest part is you need to learn the 5 buildings that make the big block up above. You need to learn White Bishop, Black Pawn, White Pawn, and King. You need to learn exactly where they are in position to each other, figure out which direction each is, because each of them have 1 to 2 entrances that lead down into the bunker, and that kind of makes up the whole outer edge of the bunker itself. So they're definitely the first thing you need to learn. There's also benefits and downsides to each of them. I don't know if you want to kind of have me lead into that right there.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. So let's talk about the bad ones first. You have you have King and White Bishop. Those are the 2 toughies. Not saying that you should never enter from there, but they have one major downside, and that is when transitioning from the building itself into the bunker, you only have one way in.
Yeah.
White Bishop, you pretty much you're up in the northwest corner up there.
Yeah,
And
top left for the people viewing.
You have a ramp that goes down from the basement of White Bishop down into the bunker, and that is your only way down. There's no other option to connect to that building. Same with King. You basically go down the basement stairs, and you're a straight shot into the bunker, and there's no other way. If someone ends up coming up behind you and there's someone down in the bunker, you're now pinched. There's nowhere for you to go in either of those locations. Downside about White Pawn or White Bishop is that you also lead into a giant patch of water. If you're concerned about being heard from across the bunker, anyone's going to hear you the second you touch that water. They're going to know you're coming in from that entrance.
Especially if they're office, right? Like it's just like instantly like, oh yeah, water. We know where they are.
Yeah. And then with King, you're basically coming in into an area where you're going to be at the top of a metal staircase. It's one of the only metal, or one of the couple metal places in the bunker. Very loud.
It's the most distinctive one, I'd say, if you take it.
Yeah. So like people instantly know, oh, I hear King stairs. And then other downside of it is when you go down those stairs, you have the potential for someone to be looking at you from every direction already, and they're angles that you can't even check until you're already down there in sight line of that angle. So it's just a very difficult spot to enter from, and you're always at a disadvantage when
it's a risk. King. I'd say it's a risk taking it. Like I'm not saying like if you go down there you'll lose every time, but like you're making a risky, you're making a risk, an extra risk that you could also avoid by taking a different entrance, right?
Yeah, for sure. And then you have your other options, like
the good ones.
Black Bishop, Black Pawn, and White Pawn. All those have 2 entrances. And what I mean by that is they each have a basement to their buildings, which have basically, let's say the basement of the buildings is a straight line. and then there's a hallway in the bunker that is parallel to that basement. And there are two connecting hallways from the basement to the bunker hall in each of those buildings. That means you're never going to get trapped. If someone's in front of you and someone's behind you, you can always, wrap around a different direction, take a different approach, and yeah, you're never going to get pinched.
No, you can always
unless
just get back, right? Like I think that's one of the issues with, like, for example, like the bishop and water. Like, even if you've jumped over, like you don't really have a way to A, flank, or B, even getting back over the water is a risk, right? Well, with like black, mostly the pawns. Let's say your entrance doesn't work, you just go back and go the other way and take a different entrance that's like right there, right? So you have like a flank possibility that could be there or reachable in like a minute possible, right? Like you need those flanks to get in the bunker sometimes, and not having those flanks, it making you a really tough spot basically to get in where you want.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I personally really like coming in from black bishop, black pawn.
Yeah.
Because even when you're in the bunker, you have a lot of, once you're like in that connecting like bunker hallway, there's just a lot of options where you can go from there as well. You're not really limited. Black bishop and black pawn are kind of connected, and in their bunker halls, like there's a little connecting room that connects the two, so you can kind of even pass back and forth between those two buildings. So like they're kind of almost like one collective entrance in themselves, which is cool.
Yeah, basically it's just like you can pick whatever stairs you want to lead, but they all go to basically the same 1-2 hallways, right? And you can use those hallways to flank to either of the stairs or ramps that actually lead to like the main hall of the bunker. And let's be real, like most of the times that people are going to be sitting / holding in the bunker, I'm not going to say like they're sitting still exactly, but most of the people will go to the bunker and go to either the office, the lever where you hit D2, or just the main hall, right, where the crates are. So most of the times my goal is to control that area, because that's where most people either are right now already before I enter, or that's where they are going to go to if they enter after you, right? So
yeah,
I think that's really important. When you spawn, let's say on the left side of the map, what's normally your strategy of going to the bunker? Is there a specific route you take, or a specific one you avoid?
So if I'm spawning in like the bunkers on like the southwest corner of the map, if that's what you're talking about.
Yes, for example.
Yeah. So pretty much what I'll do is I pretty much run from run into like the back of the RBST garage building. I run through there, then I run into to the right of there. I run into that little
bungalow thingy.
Bed. Yeah, that little like. There's bunk beds in there and whatnot. I never know what to call it. I just call it bunk beds. But I pass through there, and then I kind of approach the backside of King, between King and Dome, and I kind of that's where I kind of gauge the situation. I kind of because depending on where you are, you can kind of hear if any fighting's going on in the bunker beneath you. You can hear nades and stuff and louder gunfire, so you can kind of tell what's going on. And usually from there, I'll either push. I pretty much always go to white pawn nowadays. It's just way more successful. It's a little bit riskier if someone's watching Dome, but you just kind of play it careful. You don't run in the open too quick. You just kind of scope in up at Dome real quick. Make sure you don't see anyone obviously sitting up there, and then I can also kind of like run around in front of the door on the south side of King, the garage door, to see if I start to get shot at, and that allows me to just run inside. If someone's up at Dome,
you have like a way of getting out of like an angle from Dome, basically. Yeah.
I just try to like tease them there a little bit to see if anyone's up there, and if they're not, then I just push white pawn.
Yeah, I think that's a great way. That's normally what I do, or I even when I spawn on like the top side of the map, based on how this map is positioned. Even if I run into medical or server queen, normally what I do is literally just go out to the helicopter and flank straight into white pawn. It's actually surprising how I almost never get killed that way, because no one is going to be expecting it. Like they're just going to be holding like the roofs, they're going to be holding like the manhole area, and you're just running out to the helicopter and going straight in, which personally is way more preferred for me to enter from White Pawn instead of going down Queen Stairs. The only time I'm taking Queen Stairs is, for example, when I spawn in Queen itself, because then I know I'm going to be the first one to be down, possibly, so there's not already someone sitting at the bottom in the main hall looking up the server already, right? So that, for me personally, that's the only time when I go down to from either medical or Queen. It's when you like spawn so close that it's less of a risk. Otherwise, as you say, like just White Pawn is like perfect, right? And if there's someone bottom White Pawn, I'll just simply go back up and then run to Black Pawn, and I will do the same there. And I think like using sound cues is super important as well, as you say, like just listen a little bit if there's any nades or any gunshots going on. Usually we will touch on that a little bit, but of course there's also the potential raiders being there, and if there's people fighting raiders already, very often you can hear that going like nades off, or the shout of voice line, or you can just hear that or violent PvE, and you can really gain an advantage on that by using all that noise to move in yourself, which is what I love to do, just third party someone that's trying to kill all the raiders. So it's a great way to get free kills, basically. I think something that's super important, we've touched on it a little bit about the entrances, but there's a lot of sound cues that you can use in your advantage, in my opinion, in the bunker. And if you know where the sound cues of specific spots are, so what place in the bunker makes what sound, you will get to, like, it will really give you an advantage in the bunker. Like, if you instantly know, like, hey, one of the best examples is what people very often do is they go down Dome, and they literally go through all D2 to come up at this left bottom stairs, right? That's the D2 stairs. And there's a bit of glass there, and very often what they'll do is they just came up from the stairs, and they'll be like peeking towards the generator room or maybe the hallway, and they're just wiggling and walking around on that glass. But if you have a little bit higher perception and not an alt-in on, which of course is important, you'll hear that glass and you'll be like, hey, hold on, there's probably someone at the 2 stairs, because you know that's the place for the crunching glass. Yeah, I think that's the only place on this side of the bunker where it's crunching glass. The only other place where crunching glass is very distinctive is this little, I call it mechanic connector room. There's like a bunch of materials, tools there on the shelves, and like a toolbox. I think there's a bit of glass there as well, but not everywhere. So go on.
If you're in the main room, I call it the map room, like the main room in the center. It's it can be kind of tough to tell sometimes if someone is, in the bunker hall that is parallel to White Pawn, or in White Pawn, or if they're, around by D2, and that glass is kind of like your definitive, okay, now they're exactly in that little corner.
Yes.
It dials it in, because sometimes it's kind of, depending on where you're standing, it can be really tough to tell exactly where someone is when you're kind of like hearing the footsteps at a distance. But the second you hear that glass, you know that they have to be in that corner at the top.
There they are. Yeah, but and the other way around, like if you are the one in the main hall, it's important to know that the glass is there. But if you turn around, if you're coming from the 2 stairs up, you also have to realize that people will know that you're there if you make or step on that glass. So this goes both ways, of course. Like, it goes for you as a defender of the bunker, like you can use that in your advantage of where the opponent is coming from. But if you're like attacking, so to say, the bunker itself, you also have to realize that as soon as you step out there, they know exactly where you are. So I generally instantly, even if I come up those stairs, I instantly go somewhere else, because I don't want them to know exactly where I am right by that sound cue. I think another one, of course, we've touched on the water a little bit. The water is like, there's no other place all in reserve that makes a water sound. So as soon as someone hits the water, you know they're going to be there. You know they only have a couple ways to go. Like, they either go to the medical side, they either go in the water office to go in the office, or they go up the ramp that leads to like the school basement, right? So you can make a play straight away if you hear the water. Also, because they're going to be very slow in the water, they're not going to be able to move as fast as you want to. So especially if you're in a team, but even as a solo, you can prepare to set up a trap for someone. As soon as you hear the water, you're going to be like, okay, I'm going to pick a great position to counter where they're coming from, right? What's normally where you go to when you hear water? What's like your plan normally?
If I hear water,
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing I try to tell is, are they going to be taking the hallway that connects from White Bishop toward King on the west side?
Yeah.
Are they trying to go through that way, or are they heading somewhere toward the bottom of like the ramp that connects to Black Bishop?
Yeah.
Because if they're taking that direction, you can pretty much from anywhere in the bunker run over to them before they can get back to solid ground through the water because they're moving so slow.
Yeah.
And that just makes an easy, like, I mean, you can even just like scope in from the top of the ramp and get them with a headshot from there, or you can just nade them. It's really easy to nade people when they're in the water, so that's always an easy kill there. If they're going towards the White Bishop side, where it connects to King, that hall, you know, I try to push over towards like the bottom of the King stairs, and I don't push up too close in the event that they're like kind of like holding an angle at the end, because I mean there could be they could have multiple of them, you know, whatever, and you don't want to peek the hall and have like 3 dudes aiming at you.
No, definitely not.
From the same direction. It's like one of them's gonna shoot you, so it's no fun. I kind of wait at the bottom of the toward King stairs and try to wrap around through that little circular area and try and, you know, just get as close as I can to when he comes around the corner there.
I normally, I'd say like 80% of the time when you hear water, it's people crossing from medical towards the bunker, right? So I normally either go to the generator, or even if I want to play aggressive, I instantly go to the little mechanic room. And you have a beautiful right peek there with only the doorway, and they're either still crossing or they just crossed. They have nowhere to go, and you can have a beautiful peek just anticipating on where they'll approximately be, or even you don't even peek, you just throw a nade. And I think that works beautifully as well, because if you throw a nade, like, they have to do something, and there's no way to escape that nade in some way, because either they have to push into you, which you can anticipate on, or they have to go back in the water, but well, we all know how that's gonna end, right? So it's really something, like, the water is really something you can counter really well, and I think it's important to act fast on it, because if you play a little bit slow there, basically you give them the opportunity to come closer and getting out of that tricky situation that they put themselves in by crossing by water. So my advice would definitely be, like, act fast on it if you want to gain the upper hand in that position. We had a little. Sure. It's funny. I have a little question from chat for you here. All Star asks, is there ever a time to use any of the other water hallways or rooms other than crossing from White Bishop to bunker?
Yeah. So we were actually just talking about this earlier. I do it. It is. it's one of those things that it's like, you really only want to do it if you're sure that you're gonna have an advantage by doing so, and that's even that is tough to say, because you're always at a disadvantage. Like,
yes,
it's kind of like the way I think of it is, it's good for third partying if there's like, because lots of times there'll be a team in like the map room, and then there'll be like a team in the office, and then you can kind of just come through the water right there, and then kind of sandwich the team in the office, and it just kind of it adds to the messiness of it. It definitely, again, like, you're in water, if you get naded, you're dead, but like, I still do it anyway sometimes, just as like a kind of fun way to third party. And I don't know if you already know like that, like, that there's like a team in the office or something, and they're like not leaving the office, they're like, for whatever reason, they're scared and they're sitting in there. You can also, like, you know, if for whatever reason you were wrapping around back through White Bishop or something, that was the way you came down, in that sort of situation, you could go up that way. One thing I will say is, I pretty much never, unless it's like a very specific situation that requires it, I never go up the ramp to Black Bishop through water, just because that stretch of water is too long.
I'll rather go back up in medical and then jump in kitchen and go down there to get there.
Yeah,
that's way better. Also because they won't hear you, so it kind of could reset the fight. We'll get on that a little bit later.
Yeah.
The only thing I do is if you're in a bit of a stalemate sometimes, or you want to like throw your opponent off, what I sometimes do is I run into the water here and just instantly straight up go out of it again, just to bait people by making that water noise. Because sometimes what people think is like, oh, he's running away through the water, we can get him, and then I'm actually not in the water and I'm waiting for them to push me, and then that could really throw people off. So it's like a little mind game that you could play. And the same goes for the water on the left. Like if you're here and you're fighting, you could step in the water and instantly step back out again. And I'll guarantee you that someone that has been holding here is going to be like, oh, he's stuck in the water, I'm going to run there and kill him. And no way he's going to expect that, right? And I'm like, yep, I'm here waiting for you, just shooting.
Yeah.
So it's a more of an advanced trick. That's also very situational, of course. Like sometimes you do not want to bait people that way because you're going to be expecting it, or they just nade your way and you're still fucked, perhaps. But it's a really smart thing to do, to use the water in your advantage that way, perhaps.
Yeah.
Sure. There's some other cues I'd say that are important. We touched on one a little bit earlier. It's of course the queen stairs and the generator where you can jump on top. A lot of people like to jump from the stairs on the generator, but it makes such a distinctive metal sound, right? Like there's only a few spots that really make that metal sound. On the ramp itself from medical, there's also like a tiny bit on here on the ramp from black ramp, I'd say. And I think there's not really sure where. There's one more spot I think that has like a distinctive tiny metal sound.
In the middle of the map room.
Yeah, in the middle of the map room.
There's like a couple strips.
So that's what you need to, like, you can use that in your advantage. Like go in maybe a co-op or offline raid, go down these ramps and check what piece makes the metal sound and what piece doesn't. And it will help you in your fights. Like if you hear the metal in that direction, like that gives you exactly where they are on which ramp or where they are there. So you could really use that metal sound in your advantage. Even when you're in sandbags, if someone jumps on the generator, it's loud and clear where they are, right?
For sure.
So be aware of your sound cues, in my opinion, that you're making yourself, but also if other people are making them. It's a great way to fight in a bunker, to play off those sound cues. Am I missing anyone or any sound cues here, Jonny?
Well, there's also pretty generic breaking the glass in the office.
Yeah, of course. How could we forget?
When someone breaks the glass, you hear, obviously, but also every single time they run through it afterward, it kind of re-breaks a little. And it's like equally as loud as when they broke in the first place. So if someone's in the office and you're trying to like flank on them or whatever, you're trying to run around to the opposite side. Maybe you're in power hall and you decide to run back around. You can tell if they're running through the office following you through the wall, because you're going to hear them run back through the glass, and that's always a good indicator to me to kind of like just follow their footsteps through the wall. It's a good
you know exactly which office room they are in, basically, or exactly which one they are leaving, of course, if they're going to the lever. Rose made a good point. Bushes above you when you are near the generator side. You can indeed hear the bushes outside of Queen, it is, when you're at that side of the map. And it's good that you mentioned that, because if you're in the basement hallways, basically, either being in the white pawn hallway, the black pawn hallway, or even around the generator side of the main hall, you can hear people in the buildings above you because of the way that audio works in Dark World right now, right? And I think that's quite important, because you could use that to your advantage. Like you can run in the hallway and listen for the wood that will be made in the floors of the pawn buildings, and you can use that to your advantage by like knowing, hey, there's someone in black or white pawn. Maybe they'll come down, or maybe not exactly all stars, you say. Like you can definitely hear the wood in the people in the buildings above you. I'd say it's especially bad for Queen, because you can literally be at the generator and they hear you in Queen. So if you're coming down, most of the times people are just going to be pre-aiming that hallway on top of the Queen stairs. Like, okay, we know there's someone there. He just looted the toolbox. He's coming down now. Maybe you looted the duffel bag. So a lot of bad things about Queen, in my opinion.
Yeah. A lot of things can go so rough over there.
But yeah. So you have to be aware also if you're walking in the pawn buildings itself, like you might not hear the people that are sitting in the hallway.
Oh yeah.
But they are already hearing you walking down in the buildings before you even got to the basement, perhaps. So I generally play going into the bunkers a little bit slow at the beginning. I normally check if the lights are on. I normally check like, hey, have I heard anything prior? And just like hold a little bit to see if you can sound cue any people that are literally just waiting for you to come down through that bunker basement entrance. Personally, I catch a lot of people that way. You run in the hallway, you hear someone in the wood, you just go sit in that little corner, will come down and you shoot them in the face, and it's like a pretty easy kill, right? Like, don't be that guy that just walks down there thinking, oh, no one's here. All right. I think we covered them, right? Yes. Okay. We should have had this screen on, but that's fine. It's fine. We covered the entrances here as well. That's a good thing. I think we need to get to one of the bigger things where we could teach some things, some positioning and some flanks. You want to start this one, and then I'll take over in a bit.
Yeah. So there are a lot of spots throughout the bunker where people hold some what can seem like some tough to counter angles. They're all over the place.
Yeah.
But there are definitely a lot that you see more often than others, and I would say there isn't a single one that you can't counter. You know, there's a flank to every single one of these positions. And to kind of like preface this topic, like when it comes to fighting people that are, you know, holding angles, and let's say you run by and they shoot or they hit you, and or maybe they miss, but like, you know, they're like, oh man, he's run M62, I don't want to get hit by that. You know, as you run by, you can kind of gauge the type of player they are. Are they going to be someone that, as you run by and maybe like run away a little, have they moved? Are they pushing you, or are they continuing to hold that angle? And you can kind of use that information to, you know, tell, okay, this player plans on playing the long game, playing distance, and is going to try and snipe me, or not necessarily snipe you, but, you know, like
just shoot you from distance.
Yeah, and hope for that like lucky headshot. Or are they going to, you know, move up on you and push because they realize you might not repeat that spot? And that's where kind of memorizing all these angles and stuff comes into play, because you want to be able to know what sight line these angles have, but also what's the best way to flank on them and
to counter it.
So there's so many different options of how to do this in the bunker, and that's kind of what makes the bunker really cool. You can kind of, you know, pick and choose your different ways that you want to wrap around on people, and there's a ton of different options, from, you know, using the outer halls, or, you know, depending on your situation, it could be like passing through office, or you can even go up above ground and go from, you know, exit through, let's say you want to exit through white pawn and then run over to black pawn, then come back down, and then you're coming up behind the guy that was, you know, sitting still holding a cheeky angle somewhere.
Definitely.
Yeah, so that's definitely something to kind of keep in mind when it comes to like this angle stuff, with like, you know, that it's not impossible to counter it. I would never, unless you're really confident, I would never try to just hold the opposite angle back on the person, because if they're already in position, they're
just gonna hold on you. Yeah, you need to be a really good and quick shot, but it's always gonna be a risk.
It's always risky.
And you also, something you have to consider, like, is he playing a scope or not? I feel like for a very common fight, so I'll go to the next picture, is this fight, for example, right? Like, you are at the sandbag side, as we refer to. No, sorry, you're at the generator side here, as we refer to normally, and there's an opponent at the sandbags fight. And what happens most of the times is you just get in a sort of stalemate right hand versus right hand peak battle, as is shown here. which is, in my opinion, basically just a 50-50 who hits the first shot, right? Like, you know which right hand peaks they have at the at the end there, and they know which ones you have at the generator. So personally, I think it also comes a bit down to who has the scope and who doesn't sometimes. It's why I like to play with a voodoo eraser in the bunker, because you have a big advantage over someone using the holo side, of course. Also, what you have to consider is that right now the lights are on, someone flip the lever. If the power is not on yet, it's a lot darker, of course. So that's also something you have to consider when taking that fight, yes or no. But what I normally do is I want to not have that stalemate right hand versus right hand peak, right? So what I normally do is from this side, I'll just throw a nade, for example, and I'll try to wrap around through the 2 stairs and come up towards, like, on the right here, towards that hallway, and try to fight them from there. Or even just go in the office and hope that they move from that sandbag spot, because then you have you can basically like reset the fight that you're taking, instead of just trying to scope right hand versus right hand here. What's normally your practice? Do you take the fights from generator to sandbags?
No, I hate it.
That was a clear answer, sir. Okay, good noted.
Because like there's been times in the past where I do it and like sure, like half the time you get the shot and it feels good, but then it's like half the time you just get one tapped in the head right back, and it's boring. I don't know. That's the way it's to me. Like I'd rather have a little bit longer of a fight. Like you don't come down with like an extended mag and then like 3 backup mags to be like kind of
one shot in the head
back and forth across the room. You know, so like I pretty much do what you said. I'll wrap up through like D2 ramp, go along White Pond, and then come back down White Pond stairs, and then try and get close that way. And then if they're it can always be kind of tough to like push into sandbags from there sometimes if you don't know exactly where they are in the room. So like maybe sometimes I'll wrap back up towards like Black Pond and come down the stairs.
That's what I like to do as well. Yeah, I think that's better, because I personally, I say holding sandbags is a really strong hold, because from like they have basically a good sideline anywhere to the main hall, right? They have a right peak towards the where you come down from Black Pond. They hold a right peak versus you having to swing left out of the lever hallway, basically. They can just hold the door or the ramp from that sandbags area. So very often when you're encountering people in the bunker, I'd say, especially with teams, like so very often there's people just holding that sandbags area, right? Because it's such a strong hold. You have really good peaks against every entrance that goes there. So figuring out a good way how you could fight the sandbags is, in my opinion, a really big part of the bunker play. Like knowing how to play against people holding that area. If you figure that out and like how to nade them out of it, or how to make the good push into the sandbags, I think that's a really a strong part of how to improve in bunker PvP personally.
Yeah.
I hate people that hold it. Not because I hate the persons, just because I know how strong it is and how hard it is to counter, right? Like
yeah, definitely. For sure.
Well, on the other side, like generator side, I don't fight as hard, because you have like a lot of different opportunities from the generator, in my opinion, because they are either gonna go to medical water, which is a dead end for some part, or they go up the ramp towards D2, in which you have 2 different flanks to counter it on. So I don't really mind fighting someone in generator as much, because there's so much more possibility and they don't have that much of a stronghold over you personally.
Yeah.
All right. We spoke about the right angles and medical plenty of times already, but this is a very common fight that I come across too. I even have a clip that's in this exact play. You want to play that one? Let's see.
Sure, go for it.
I think this is a great example of how you like why the water is so bad, perhaps. Let me see. I thought we literally just looked over it, right? Not? The D2 camper clip. Hold on, boys. Bear with me for a second. Oh yeah, here we go. Okay. So I'm pretty sure I was in the main hallway before this clip starts, and I heard the water. So we'll see what happens, but I think we touched on it already. Oh, this is all of the clip. Okay. Yeah, but you can tell here, like, I don't know if you can see it, but like one of them is right here and the other one is still in the water at this point. Like, this is exactly the mistake. Personally, what I think they could have done better, if I'm playing in a duo and I'm going down medical, I normally have one person hold from the other side. The other one jumps over first, and then if it's clear and there's no contact, basically, then the other one jumps over as well. That's normally how we approach the situation, because then at least one of them is not stuck in the water. Because what happens here is that they're basically both fucked. And I think I thought the clip was longer, but I think I killed them both with the same nade, because they, instead of pushing forward to me, they just basically get stuck in the water, and it gives me the opportunity to throw a nade at them and really finish it off very quickly.
Yeah, especially if they're like to the left up there in that little
yeah, like
there's
a piece of metal. Yeah. So that's really a good example, and especially this is a very, very, very common angle. Like, very often when I hear someone medical or going down, they'll be holding this exact angle, right? Like, you basically have no other angle to play, because it's either that or you have to jump over.
Yeah.
All right, any advice fighting people that just came from D2 stairs? We already know how we know that they're there because of the glass sound. Any advice on that one?
Yeah, so this one is super easy if you're in a duo. If you're a solo, it's still pretty easy, but like pretty much what you want to do from here, if you're actually in the position of where I'm standing in this picture, like looking up the ramp, there's a guy up there, whatever. Obviously you don't want to run straight up the ramp. Sometimes you can get away with it, but it's risky. You're in a long open hall with no cover, and if this person just holding the angle, they could, just peek it real quick and full auto dump right through the doorway. They're likely going to kill you. Better thing to do here would be to wrap up through, go through map room, then go up the stairs by White Pawn, and then you'll have the whole hall looking down at them. And if nothing else, that's gonna make them get out of this angle and start moving down this ramp, this D2 ramp, towards the bottom of the king stairs. And that's at least gonna force them out of their position. Or, you just kind of have them trapped at the end. If you're a duo and you have someone still standing at the position I am in this picture, you have someone like down at the bottom of the ramp, and then you have someone come up through White Pond stairs and then look down the hall. Then you kind of have them trapped in that corner. They have nowhere to go other than back to where they came from, down to D2, and
which is what they do definitely very often.
For sure. Yeah, they'll go back through, and then it forces them to come in a different direction, and you just listen for where they come in afterward. But if they don't end up going down the stairs and you're in a duo, it's an easy pinch. If you're a solo, I pretty much just nade the crap out of the corner.
Yes,
and just force them out of that corner. Once I'm up by White Pawn. Yeah,
I get so many nade kills of people sitting exactly where the opponent is sitting here. Like, you just nade it. Like, you can even nade it from, like, when you go up White Pawn stairs from the bunker to White Pawn, like, you can nade it from that open bunker door towards that area, and without getting shot even. Because you just throw the nade that way. And what very often happens is what they do is they'll run down the stairs and think it saves them, but very often the nade bounces so far that they just blow up even if they're on the stairs. So I really don't mind if people are holding this area. I win it a lot of times. Like, if I'm losing it, it's because I messed something up. not because my position was bad, in my opinion. And a good comment from someone in chat, like just need to make sure he isn't on the door or on the box to your left. You can indeed jump on the little box that's on there or the door to your right, but to be fair, I haven't really seen a lot of people do that anymore, but it's definitely a possibility.
I encounter it once every, like, you know, once in a while.
I agree. I think this one is also a very common one, right?
Oh yeah. Anytime someone's basically this is showing any of the doorways that connect from the basements of one of the buildings. In this example,
the pawn buildings, right?
The pawn buildings, and White Pawn here, like, you can pretty much there's these little parts that kind of tuck in that are really good spots to hold an angle from, and you can kind of see it here. With lights off, it's pretty tough to see, and you know, if you're coming from down the hall by D2 stairs and you're kind of entering the hall and someone's got this angle all the way down the hall, it can be very easy for them to kill you because it's a straight shot and you know, it's hard to see them. So if you do detect someone kind of holding one of these angles, you know, there's always the option of whatever building that they're at the bottom of. You can always turn around, wrap up through another building, and just come hit them from above. I've done that plenty of times.
Same.
And it works out well.
Yeah. This is something I definitely often get killed from, especially when maybe I'm in a fight with someone and I'm trying to use that wide hallway to pull a flank, and then you run in here and you're like realizing too late, like, oh, there's a guy at the end there. Okay. Whoopsie. So it's definitely something you need to watch out for. Also because you have nowhere to go, basically, and they can just step back, basically, right? Like you have to get to the right here. Something else that we should have touched on a little bit earlier, maybe a little bit more of a newer tip. If you're lost in the bunker and you're not sure where you are, look at the walls, because this is a great example. It says the white pawn marker on the walls here, and that will tell you which building you are under or which hallway / entrance it leads to, going up to the normal ground floor. And I wish I knew that when I started playing Reserve, because I was so lost, and now I realize, like, hey, it actually tells me where I am, right? And the same goes for, like, if you're lost to D2, there's arrows going towards where D2 is. So if you're lost, try to look to the walls, to the chess pieces that mark the buildings on Reserve, and check the red arrows that will lead you to D2 all the way if you follow them. So if you're lost, just look at the walls. Great advice. I wish I knew that when I started playing Reserve Bunker. Another very common one when you're finding the basement, I guess. This goes for Black Pawn in this case, but I think this is a very common fight. Like we touched on Hearing Wood earlier. There's a few spawns outside of Black Pawn too, so this is, in my opinion, a very, very common fight that you could take. I don't really like taking it from the opponent's side, in my opinion.
Neither do I.
I prefer to be on the angle that you're looking at from it, because you have a lot of potential spots. If you want to be really cheeky, I'll check if I can find the clip. But you can even look through this bunker door if you really want to. Have you ever done that, Jonny? Yeah. I'll look in a second. I don't think I prepared that clip, but you can stand on this door and slow lean to look through the sides. Like, I don't know how to call it in English. Maybe you know that. Like, it's a little gap, I guess.
Yeah, like where the hinges of the door are.
Yeah. And you can look through it, and I promise you, they will not see it coming, and you'll get a report straight away if you make a kill like that. But it's a very valid way. I win this fight a lot if they're just holding this. The best thing to do if you're on the other side, in my opinion, just close the door, run to the other entrance, and try to fight it that way. That's literally your best bet in 90% of the cases. Like, or nade it and push after it, perhaps. But that's a bit of an aggressive play. That, like, if someone's in the right hallway or in the left hallway, that might end up really bad for you because you are very exposed in this position because there's literally 4 angles that you have to check. So definitely not an easy fight to take, but be aware of those 4 angles. So what you could do, for example, too, is just close the doors. Are you a door closer, Johnny, or do you leave them open?
It depends on the door. Like pretty much, I think the only times I close doors is like if I'm running back to like reload or something, and I know I need that like
Extra
2
seconds.
3 second
Yeah.
window. Yeah, just to like switch mags so that I don't run out of ammo in the next bit of fire there. Yeah. Other than that, I'm not too much of a door closer. I like to kind of leave them all open so that I don't have to, or hopefully don't have to run into a situation where I'm trying to reposition and then I run into
The
a closed
door's
door.
closed and you're fucked
Yeah.
because of it. Yeah.
Yeah, especially when like your flank that you're taking like requires like very split second decision making, and if you're held up by like any couple doors or
There goes
whatever,
your flank.
it's gonna throw it off. Yeah, it's gonna
Yep.
throw it all off,
Same.
and you lose a really good opportunity.
Yeah. There's another reason, like very often, especially here, when you walk down, a lot of people will close that door that leads to sandbags. I don't do that because very often I walk down there and I see the door is closed, and then I just know that there's someone probably holding it or somewhere in the bunker, right? It's such a telltale to tell you, like, hey, I'm here, I closed all the doors. I'm gonna be sitting still somewhere waiting for you. And I think I prefer not to do that. Like, I prefer not to give my opponents that info. If I'm in the bunker and I'm gonna be holding it, I'd rather have them go in unexpected instead of like already telling my enemies before I even hear them, like, hey, I'm here, right? So it's a little bit of a mind game thingy going on there. Let's talk about some flanks, some very common flanks. I think we already touched on it a little bit, but the best way to flank in the bunker itself obviously is using the hallways to your advantage. I absolutely love playing duo reserve bunker because there's always a flank that you can do as a duo. And that makes it really hard to fight as a solo against duos, in my opinion, in the bunker. But it makes it great to execute. If you're a good duo, you've played together a little bit, and you know when to flank and how you can quickly flank somewhere, like you can pinch people so bad in the bunker. It's also what you really need to watch out for if you're playing as a solo against teams. Like, you can get pinched real easy in the bunker. And you need to avoid that's gonna happen straight off the bat, in my opinion. But let's say you're coming down medical here, for example, and there's someone holding the generator. We've already showed it a couple pictures earlier. Like, I do not want to be that guy over there. I really don't. I don't want to be that guy. It's literally a 50-50 fight, and you're most likely gonna lose it, even. So, what I normally do is I just go back up and I jump into kitchen and I take the long flank all the way to the black hallway, and either go down here or even flank it further, and then suddenly you're at sandbags and you can fight someone that's at generator, and you basically reset the fight and make it like on a fair battlefield, right? And then you can continue doing it, like, to push closer on them. Like, if they're still holding there, you touched on this a bit earlier, if they're holding that mechanic room from the beginning, most likely when you're done with the flank, they're still going to be there. Like, I guarantee you 50% of the times they're going to be like, where did he go to? I'm just going to sit and wait here. And from this position, there's so much options you can do. You can go in the office, you can do the long flank to the 2 stairs. Hell, you can even just grenade and push after it if you want to. Something I very often do. I just throw a grenade to the other side and I'll push after it. And then suddenly I'm right at his face, and there's nowhere he can go because I basically turned the tables around because now he's in that water position that's so disadvantaged. So in my opinion, like, don't be afraid to just go back up and like just get back up and take a different entrance. Like, reset that fight. Like, use the entrances and the flanks as an example. We spoke about this a little bit earlier. Sandbags. What's your favorite flank against sandbags?
Pretty much trying to. I mean, personally, I like to. If we're on the left side, the bottom of King Stairs generator area, your first check is kind of coming back up towards White Pond, then going down White Pond stairs, and then you're going to be, just to the side of, just to, like, the right of sandbags, pretty much, if you're facing sandbags. And at that point, you can kind of gauge a situation. Should you push up into map room and try to push them from map room, or if you're still having a tough time finding out exactly where they are, you can wrap up towards Black Pond, Black Bishop, and then you have both the ramp and Black Pond stairs as options to, you know, uh, wrap in from. That way, you have a lot better from both of those angles. You have a lot better view of the entire sandbags room. You can kind of see where they are.
Yeah.
And
we have a question from chat. What is the orientation of this map?
Okay, so this map right now is the proper cardinal directions. North right now is so the way this map is laid out is north is actually the top of the map. The majority of the time you see maps where if you're looking at a reserve map, you'll see the dome will be on like the north end of the map.
Yeah.
That's actually
the wrong way around.
Flipped, it's flipped upside down.
I'll scroll a bit up again towards the beginning of our presentation. This is how it's supposed to be. So it's laid down the same way, basically, right? Like, so south is dome, and north is like heating pipe, extract, PVC scaflands, basically.
Yeah.
I think people started changing it when we realized that it was south, and when we got the compass. But it's and before that we didn't have the compass, so we never knew for sure, and everyone turned the maps around. It's still very confusing for a lot of us. So definitely not a stupid question, King Oxen. Thank you for asking that. Okay, back to the flanks, I'd say. Any other flanks that or situations? I think we should really touch on the lever, right? Or the office, perhaps. I think we have a clip of you. Let's play that clip first, and then after the clip has played, we can. Now asks me to. That's interesting. Hold on a second. It asked me to sign in, so let's not do that. Let me look to the clip.
And make sure permissions didn't get changed on it.
Power hall camper, yes. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I got it. Cool. Sorry for that. Let me reset it and full screen it for you boys. So before we start, I think this is a very common camping spot, right? Like we'll touch on a bit on some other camping spots, but going into the bunker, I always prepare for someone to be just sitting at the lever or that hallway or that office somewhere. Like, even if I'm the first down there, like, it's a really good practice to always play like there's someone that's gonna be sitting there, right? Like that, that's a really good practice. And I think this clip shows exactly why. Let's give it a play. So, Johnny, you cleared them up, man. GG's.
Yeah, so basically what happened there is, so whenever I peek through the, basically I obviously came from probably like Kingside, and then came into office, was clearing through office, went through the glass, and was going to go check Power Hall. I usually, when I peek that door, I kind of check to the right first like I did, because the door opens in a way that, like, you'll have the door kind of covering you a little bit, I think. It's kind of hard to tell, but I usually assume that people. So if you're actually looking where it's paused on right now, to the right of that doorway that I'm looking at, there's like a little corner people like to sit in too. I usually check that first because I see that a lot more frequently. But while checking that, there was another guy behind me. If you'll see, he shot me up pretty good, and then as I was spinning around, I saw where he was. He was crouching there, like pretty much in the middle of the hall, just like camping the.
It's a very common spot to be sitting in, 100%. Yeah, I very often encounter people that are going to be like behind the server racks on the right, like just waiting for you to walk into the into this little room to hit the lever, I guess.
Yeah, and there's a couple ways to go about it. Pretty much what I did right there was whenever I kind of run into a situation like that, it's kind of similar to like we were talking about like the angle thing earlier. I get the vibe that that guy is probably not going to make any like quick moves because of the way his position, his holding. He wasn't really even like holding the proper like the best angle in his position because you
No.
can sit behind the server racks and
Yes.
stuff and like have most of your body covered. He was sitting like right in the middle of the floor.
Yeah.
And I pretty much knew this is like such an easy kill for me. Let me just hold left click, walk through the doorway.
Pre-fire, you know where he is. He hasn't moved. He's still crouch walking when you killed him, I think.
yeah.
We go to it, I think you can literally see it. Yeah, he's still. Oh, he has night vision on too, actually.
Yeah. He's got a Cayman with night vision. That's easy. A few 100,000 right there. Easy money for me.
You got rich. But yeah, this is a very common spot. I usually prefer taking the hallway over going through offices to this place. Because you have a lot more right peaks and you're not like basically stuck. Like you have to go through the glass on the left, like at the beginning. You have to make sound to get through it. I prefer normally to go through the hallway instead of this office way. Any preference for you on that, or is it just like whatever way you came from?
Yeah, it's whatever. I don't really have a preference with it. I kind of just it does like kind of make more sense to go through like the map room and come through like the hall, wrap around. That way you got like nicer right hands and you don't really have anything that you're not putting yourself in a situation I was in where I'm like I have to check two different directions and I just happen to check the wrong direction first. So yeah, there's it's probably smart to go the other way, but
I think we have some clips that you call door strafe. What do you consider a door strafe, Jonny?
Okay, so there's whenever you're fighting someone around the office area, there are lots of doorways where you're going to be in one room and someone's going to be on the other side of the door, or they're going to be in the hall and you're going to be on the other side of the door. And I would say like around like 50% of my fights in like
in the office area,
in the office area are like these door strafing fights where you're swinging by a door, the opponent's swinging by the door, and you got to nail a shot on them. And it can be kind of hard to do if you're not like used to it yet, but like once you get the hang of it, they're really easy sorts of fights. Yeah, it really definitely requires like a laser
practice and laser.
Because like having that tighter recoil spread is gonna make it so that it's a lot easier to hit the headshots, and also it's easier to tell where your shots are going. Because when you're strafing, it can be kind of hard to tell where your shots are going, because as you're getting shot at too, you're getting like the screen blur, you're getting like the kickback, and it can be tough. It can be tough to tell. So
we have a little clip to show what you just said. I think. Let me see.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect example, I guess, right?
Yeah. Pretty much, I timed it with the audio of like where I heard his footsteps and whatnot through the wall or whatever as I hear him coming through the room, and I just try to line my sight up with where I hear the audio, and then
you just pre-fire.
I start shooting.
Yeah. I think we have another one. I think we have another one here.
Yeah.
We have to play that one again. That lagged a little bit. Don't know why.
Same sort of thing.
Yeah.
So you'll see I start holding left click right as I see the flashlight get a little closer.
You pre-fire on it, like instead of like reacting on it, basically, right?
Yeah, it's always a little bit easier with these sort of fights to kind of pre-fire it a little bit, because worst case scenario, even if you don't get the kill, as long as you're pre-firing, when they step into your line of sight, at least one bullet's going to hit them, and then from there you'll have to like react and kind of snap to them as they
definitely.
yeah. You kind of see me do it right there.
Um, I think the mistake he makes is he's strafing past you very closely to the door instead of far from the door. I think it's much more preferable to take the long fight because it's harder for you to see and hit, and he just has the same doorway to shoot and look at, right?
Yeah, because pretty much all he has to do is shoot in the doorway, and for the most part, like at a greater distance like that, if he's like all the way against like the wall in the back, the recoil is going to make it so that like one of his shots is going to hit me as long as he's shooting somewhere towards
in the door. Yeah. What I normally do when someone's in this hallway is I don't really like to take this strafe fight at all. I prefer to avoid it. So I normally try to bait them out of it, or I'm trying to make it so that they're going to be holding some angle, because then I can strafe on them instead of getting strafed by them, if that makes sense, right? So I normally do a technique that you see a lot of people do. I literally run past it, and look sideways, and instantly turn around, expecting them to either push behind me, or like just try to get some shots if we're gonna make some move. And I prefer that much more than trying to get in some strafe battle, because you can see how it ended for the guy in this clip and the previous one. Like they're gonna be on the wrong end of this fight, right? Like you wanna win. I think we have one more. Let's see. Oh yeah, now you're on the winning end.
I'm on the opposite side. That was a pretty simple one. Pretty much, he made it so easy because he's so close to the doorway.
Yeah, same up counts here. If he would have backed up here, that would have been so much harder for you, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I was coming from the right side, or like I was swinging a right hand on him, whereas in the other clips, people were swinging left hands on me. So like we're at equal advantage right here, kind of. But like he decided to stand in the middle of the doorway.
Yeah,
I'm not really sure.
It's a bit of a 50-50 fight that we're looking at here, to be fair.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. I think that's some good examples for that one. I think we will get to one of our favorite topics for today. Jonny, how often do you die to raiders?
So honestly, nowadays, like not a lot, but like
same.
I used to die to them
a lot of times, right?
Frequently.
Yeah.
Yeah,
go on.
I was gonna say, like, pretty much the once you kind of get the hang of them, the only time that you really easily die to them is when you just get one that was like a straggler that doesn't move, doesn't voice lines, like sitting in like a corner
sitting in a corner,
and you just have no idea he was there, you know, like that. Those are the ones that, like, you know, you can't really beat. Like I mean, you can, but like not too easy. But for the most part, once you learn how to fight them, they're really easy to fight.
Yeah. So before we start, there's a possibility of 3 or 4 raiders to be in the bunker already, right? And then when you hit the lever, which is this X right here, so that's why I marked it with an X. That's like when you pull the lever, there's another possibility for 3 or 4 raiders to spawn in there, right? So if you're going into the bunker, you always have to anticipate that there's a possibility basically that there's going to be raiders in the bunker. They move around a little bit, especially since the change a little bit more. They make sounds, but they're still, generally speaking, either at the generator or the ramp site, or in the office. They're around sandbags or in the hallway. They're sometimes down at the ramp here, or they're like on top of here somewhere, right? Like that's the general directions that they're there. And I had a lot of problems fighting the raiders, but there's a good way to counter raiders in any of those spots. And what you have to be doing, in my opinion, let's give the example that you pull lever, right? So there's no raiders there. You go to the lever, you hit the lever. What my strategy very often is I instantly run out to the hallway, and the first thing I'll do is I'll just listen, because you'll hear them spawn in. They make sounds, and they're gonna like spawn in and move to some position. And also because you're in the hallway, like there's only one way they could come to you, at least, unless they're in the office, and that's front of you, so you can just easily hold one angle as well. And then I want to make a play based on where I hear them to audio cue spawn. In my opinion, the easiest way to kill raiders, or the easiest spawn for raiders, is when they go on the D2 ramp itself, because they'll stand here on the ramp, and all you have to do is just wrap up all the way up here, have a right slow peek on this little corner, and I will guarantee you, if you slow peek that, you can literally boom, 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 shoot them in the head, and you'll get rid of them in like seconds, really seconds. The same goes for when they spawn in the office or at the medical bit and they are starting to move. That doesn't happen as often as it used to be, in my opinion. I don't know, what's your opinion on that, Jonny? Like, they used to do that like 50% of the time. It seems the AI has changed a little bit on that. But what I used to do is just run to sandbags, look basically just in the main hall, and they'll just come around the corner one for one. Nowadays, I feel like they normally just sit and hold here a little bit more. But what you can do, for example, is just bait them with like a flashlight or a grenade, because they'll start moving on it. And just having a slow right peek on raiders will always, and go for the instant headshot will be your blessing if you start doing that against raiders, instead of trying to get them head on. Like, I want to avoid running into raiders head on. That's the least I want fighting them. That's a risk I don't want to take.
Yeah. And something to note is that they typically don't like I don't definitely take this as like not like 100% thing, but like they typically don't play like a player would, where like, let's say if you're sprinting and then you see someone, you're going to completely stop in your tracks and start shooting. If they're running, like let's say they're running through map room and you're in sandbags, they're probably going to keep running until they get to where they want to stop. So you can kind of like peek around the corner and they'll just like kind of run at you. And at least how they've been acting lately, from what I've seen, so like as long as they're in motion, they're pretty easy to kill. It's once they kind of get to where they want to stop moving, that's when they're kind of deadly, and you need to like be like, okay,
you need to watch out for a 180 headshot from them. Yes.
yeah. I always say too, like, they're not scavs. Don't sit in the same angle, and like, if you don't kill them with the first shot, either like wait like 30 seconds, like wait 30 seconds before peeking again, or pick a different angle, because like if you peek a second time, it is a high chance they're just gonna one tap you. And there's nothing you can do about it. And you got to remember, they're not players. They're AI, and they don't miss.
They definitely do not. No, I think slow peeking against raiders is a really safe way. And as you start figuring out the patterns of the raiders, try to get to a safe right slow peek that you can get into. That if they start shooting at you or pushing you, you can pull back if need to. But like, you have a safe distance between you and the raiders to try to take them out with the slow lean peeks, and have enough cover to pull back in case they start throwing nade or they start pushing you. So this is a great example. The sandbags is a great example for two ways, because what sometimes happens is they spawn in the water. And I haven't figured it out completely, but normally they just go up this ramp and they either come down here or they hold there. And there's a little gap between the bunker door, and you can beautifully shoot through that bunker gap when they come down the ramp. And that's a very safe way of killing them, because if they start running down, you can just pull back and have another right hand angle on them, right? So it gives you a lot of safety, basically a safety net against raider. You can just back up to cover again. Because the last thing I want, for example, is if they're at like the generator area and I'm going to be like in the middle next to a pillar, because as soon as they start pushing you, you have nowhere to go, man. And it's you want to avoid taking risk against AI or raiders, and specifically, I'd say. And that risk will turn out in your favor, less likely than it will turn in that case.
Yeah. One thing I'd like to say is, even though there's lots of like cues we're mentioning to like kind of tell if they're there or not, they run around, they voice line a lot. They're noisy compared to a lot of other AI in the game.
Yeah.
One way I actually died to them recently was I was coming. I spawned in the northeast corner of the map, in the bunker up there, north of Black Bishop ish. And I came through underneath Black Bishop, and I was coming in to the bunker, pretty much that that north hallway, all the way to the top. And as I came through the door, and as I was peeking in, it was silent. And as I was coming through the hall, like it looked like there was nothing to my left or right. But as I just was going to come down the ramp towards Sandbag, so I started running in from Black Bishop. And turns out there was a couple standing on the ramp to my right toward water. And then there was one tucked right up against the wall to my left toward the ramp down to Sandbags. And yeah, I just got caught between 3 or 4 raiders, and
Yeah.
I was so certain that there weren't any there, but they were just like tucked up against the wall.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there are times that they will just kind of be in spots you don't expect them.
It's the same with like going queen. Another negative side about going down queen. Sometimes there's raiders in like this hallway towards the toilet, right? And you'll jump down either on the generator or you jump straight in that little mechanic room and you'll just get mowed down by them. And it's like an unwinnable fight, man. So we're definitely gonna I avoid, like, this is the hardest area in my opinion to fight the raiders in, because there's not really a good right hand peek against them. So what I normally do is I throw a nade or a flashbang to get them out of that position. And that's a trick that you can use against any AI, by the way. It goes for scaffolds too, it goes for rogues too, but like nades are a really good utilization against PvE raiders. And we actually had a full podcast about nades and how to use them. So if you want to know more about that, go check out it on YouTube. We've talked about it for over 2 hours. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I think we'll get to our favorite topic now, Jonny. D2.
The D2? Yeah. Cool. Sweet. So John, just do a quick overview of D2 and then kind of go into the more
yeah, we can do this 2 ways. Maybe chat can let us know. You want us to talk over first, or you want to see me dying to extra campers first? Let's see if someone has a preference. This map is by Reamer, by the way. He's an epic guy. So definitely one of the more detailed maps of the bunker.
maps.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna look at me dying first. All right.
Cool.
So a funny fact. This was clipped by the people that killed me, and they called it "Lights Are Out." It's just a little fun fact about me getting bullied by extra campers. Okay. We should have some sound here. Not that I'm speaking about anything special, but let me see if you guys notice it before we notice it. Okay. It's a classic, boys. Where are they? Who spotted where I got killed from? Yes, sir, behind the pipe. Not in the corner. Yeah, he's literally like, you can see it very poorly, even on my stream if I scroll it back a little bit, but he's like right there, prone behind the pipes. And I'm not sure even if he's prone or just crouched, but he's just not making a sound. And now I'll come to the name of the clip. The lights are out. There's like a little table light on this workbench or something, and they shot it out, so it's like super hard to see. But as soon as my teammate like came across this corner, he should have noticed that the light was out, because lights out in this area are like the big red flag for there's a camper that could probably be here. So that's a mistake we made, and we're also really close together here. So that's mistake number 2. I was figuring out where he got shot from. I thought there was only one on the right side, but there was already someone that waited for us both to get down here. So I don't really like extra campers, but they did play it really well here, in my opinion. And just a good example of watch your corners and watch the lights if they're out or not, let's say.
Yeah, I'll say usually when you encounter extract campers that are in a group,
yes,
they don't split up like this. So that's why these guys did it well. Like normally you'll have, you're peeking down the hall toward the actual extract. You'll have you know, a couple of guys holding at different angles, just like peeking the same doorway, and those are usually like a little easier fights to win because you can nade them out and stuff, whatever. But like since you know the guy from the right shot, and then that makes you think, oh crap, there's an extra camper. Let's kind of like take this slow for a second. You gotta like reevaluate. Okay, how are we gonna do this? But like in that moment of kind of like processing that thought, that this guy just stands up behind you, and sound like he was just using a pistol. And
He was. I died to PSTGSH to the head.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know. It was an old clip, but I think it was pretty juiced here. Like I had the HK and all that, like all the good things on me.
Yeah.
So we'll get to your question in a little bit, but first we have also a clip of Mr. Jonny, and he actually turns it around and kills the extra camper. Oh, that's not the wrong one.
Yeah, that one was easy because, so let me give you a little context to that one.
Yeah, we
really
need some context. I'll play it again without sound while you talk.
So the reason why I didn't supply the whole clip, because it's very long. Basically, what was going on was this person was sitting there for a while, and I ran back and forth from that door like a lot of times, and I knew that they weren't really hitting their shots. Like he hit me a couple times, but like he hadn't hit me in the head yet or in the face or anything. So I was like, I don't think this person is very confident that they're going to kill me. So I ran back and forth a couple times, and I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm just going to run back one more time, and then I'm just going to swing it and shoot exactly in the angle that they're sitting. For whatever reason, this last push scared the guy, and he stood up and started running.
Yeah.
And I don't really know if they thought they were going to get away, but it made it very easy for me. Yeah.
I think we have a great clip here as well by you, right? Let me give that a play, and play it with the sound this time. Sorry. Oh,
I think it's the next.
it's the next one. Oh yeah, it's this one. Yeah,
it's this part one. So this is a duo here. This is the first of the duo. This one was an easy kill. So a little bit of context here, because this is like the first half of the fight. You'll see the second one in a second. But
is he baiting you with the CMS, or is that your teammate on top?
That was my friend upstairs.
Okay, got it.
I think he was the one trying to bait him with the CMS, and like that made the guy push. But basically, what we were trying to do was this is a very common situation that you'll have when, like I said earlier, usually when you encounter extract campers and there's a group, they're all going to be sitting in the same spot, and
yes,
all the way down there, and eventually they're going to try and like do this whole like, all right, you push, and I'm going to stay back here and hold, and you can tell like that's kind of what they had going on in their heads, and because my friend had just
counter push it, right?
Yeah, and, like my friend had just died in front of me as we were getting out. That's how we knew the campers were there. And I don't know if you can really see his body in the clip, but he's pretty much like straight in front of me on the ground right there. And then I'm just waiting for one of them to push up. My friend was upstairs CMSing, and then I just like timed it with a flashlight, held the left click as started pre-fire as soon as I knew the flashlight was close enough, and swung it. And then it's like, okay, now we got it down to the point where now we just have the angle holder is in the distance, at which point you can play the second clip.
I think this is the this one, right?
This one.
Yes, This is my favorite one. Let's go. Woo. A close one.
yeah. So that was definitely close. So what happened there was I run by once to kind of check where the guy is and see if he's kind of holding one of the closer angles behind. I call them server things. I feel like
so it's like mechanical boxes or something, right? Like I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like any sort of electronic cabinet thing in this game, everyone calls a server. It doesn't matter what
server,
it is.
Yeah.
So I was basically checking to see if because I just killed the other guy like seconds before this, and we're trying to figure out, okay, how far
It's
back
the
is this guy
second
holding
guy.
angle?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do like the first check. I run by, turn my head, and I realize, okay, he's not holding the close angles. I run back, and once we, I actually didn't have audio on my end, so I don't know when he started shooting, but
Yeah, he starts shooting after you throw the nade. So I think he's like maybe anticipating on you peeking after that nade, because he's not replying on the nade. He's just going to be like, okay, I'm just going to lie here and hope the nade doesn't kill me. At least that's what I get from it.
and basically all the events, it led to like, okay, the only place that he can be and still be shooting is either crouching or proning in the hallway, leading toward the extract. And I realized he was proning there, and I had to take the really swift right hand. That was a risky turn. If I wasn't wearing the helmet,
You would have been dead. Yep.
Yeah, the helmet saved me there because he actually got me in the head. But I got him in the face too because he was prone there, and
yeah, it makes him an easy target. Like I never understand why people go prone in such locations. Like they have nowhere to go. Then it's basically you, as the prone guy, you kill them or you die. Like there's no resetting fights. There's no pulling back or whatever.
Yeah, and even like a couple things to note too. Like you can nade him out from where he was. It's just a little bit harder of a nade because there's a lot more things that you need to kind of like get the nade past to get it back towards that doorway.
I agree.
But it is possible. You can also, like, if you're really good at bouncing it, you can bounce it over there too. And at which point, like, it's really nice if you can get the guy to stand up and have to fall back a little bit.
Yeah, because then you can anticipate on it. Yeah, I agree. And that's where you will always win against a camper. I think if you can actually push them in and flush them out of their spot that they're holding, right?
Yeah, because they're not going to be able to like extract in that time window. If you push up right away, that there's not enough time for them to extract. So you can pretty much run right up and just pre-fire every doorway as you pass through there and get them pretty quick.
I think it's a great clip. It's a good example of how you can counter the D2 camper. All right, so this is the other way around now. So in this map, dome is on top, and so this is now south and this is north, so it's flipped upside down. There's a few common spots that people are camping in, but before we start, and that we also had a question from Ball and Hobo. I'm curious how to counter when someone is laying by spiral stairs, sniping the door that enters D2, and his duo stays by the door to open it if you manage to close the door. So I'm guessing you mean if someone is holding either here or here, and they're holding with a scope like in this long hallway, right? I think that's what they're thinking.
Yeah, I think that's what he's implying.
I think like, that's the worst D2 camper to counter, because if you do not have a scope, you're gonna lose it either way. Like you're just dead. So what I try to do countering that, to answer your question, Balin, is if you have a scope, it makes it a little bit easier because you can at least attempt to counter it. But shoot out the lights. There's a couple lights here. You can shoot them out. It will make it harder for you to get spot. But secondly, if I do not have a scope and I open the door and I get shot straight away, I'm just going back, and I'm going to either cliff descend if I have a rebel, or I flip hermetic and I go out that way. I don't care. I'm not going to take that fight. You're never going to win it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would say like there's always, like, if you're in a group, it can be a good thing to, if you really want to fight them, you can have someone go up to the dome and then come down the stairs. And like, even if I'm a solo and like I'm like feeling risky, and like it seems like it's only one dude, I'll definitely go up and do that. But if it's like a whole squad, it can kind of make it a little more difficult, because by the time you get to dome, they might anticipate you coming to dome, and there could be one guy that already came up the spiral stairs, and like he could be hiding somewhere up there. You got like people in so many different places, it just like isn't worth it. But like if it's like solo versus solo, just a camper down there, I'll definitely wrap around and then just like rush my way down the stairs and try and come up behind them in hopes that like
it resets the fight, right? Like either they have to find a different camping spot, but I think the strongest camping spot in all of D2 is if you're just holding from here with a scope and you have someone else to open or close the doors, because there's you have to go through this hallway to do something. You have nowhere else to go. You have to go through there. So I think it's the most scary spot to counter. What I sometimes do is, if I'm in a duo, I'll shoot out the lights here. I'll jump on the little fence or stairs thingy with a scope, and I'll like slow lean so I can look through it, and then my teammate goes close, opens the door, and leans to the right exactly so he can't get shot. And that way we're basically doing exactly what they are doing, but like to check the area. But in it works great in theory. In real raids, I've also just got straight shot in the head doing that, and because they're just like, okay, right, like they're expecting you. I don't know exactly where they're gonna be laying. I don't even know if I can see them properly. So I'd say it's a very bad. You have really bad odds pushing in that position. The best advice I can give you is just expect every time that there's someone gonna be camping it, and try to bait their shots out, because as soon as they shoot at you and they don't kill you straight away, then you know that you're dealing with D2 campers. And that goes for every situation here, right? Like, in most cases, I'm not actually trying to kill the camper straight away. I'm just trying to let them know that they're out there. So that goes for this one as well. You wanted to say something?
Oh, I was gonna say, the thing about extract campers is they're not hard to deal with as long as you know they're
yes.
there. Once you know they're there, it's easy. Everything's fine. If you know where their position is, that's even better. It's the situations where you don't know that they're there. That's when you're gonna die. So like, just always assume they're there. Take it. So there's no rush to get to D2, and then like Seiko said, if someone's sitting there and holding that angle that is like just like really hard to counter, like unless there's like 2 minutes left in the raid, like there's no rush to take D2. Like, just go take another extract. They're like, hermetic is fine. Like, yeah, sure, it's annoying, it's loud, it takes a little bit longer, but like, yeah, just do it. Don't bother. Like, it's someone that's camping D2, probably like killing them isn't going to be worth their loot anyways. Most of the time they're probably sitting there with like a stock RFB, just like scoping down the hall, and you're not really getting much out of killing them anyways. So just go take a different extract.
Yeah, that's my best advice. And the other advice is just like, try to be always ready for them. Part one of that is knowing where they will sit. A little bit of background. D2 camping got a lot more popular after the beautiful General Sam video that we've all probably seen.
Yes.
Yes. And there's a lot of good spots in there, but most of the people aren't original, and they'll just go to these spots. So if you are checking these spots too, and you're anticipating like there could be someone there, most of the times you could kill him. Like, you get killed by extra campers because they're surprising you from a spot that you didn't check. That's why you die to them. So the best way to counter it is to be always ready for them to be in any of those spots. And B, in my opinion, put pressure on it straight away. Don't give him time. Don't give him time. Like, push him. Make him scary. Make him like, oh god, this guy's pushing me. Like, that's what I like to do against campers. Like, oh my god, this guy is actually pushing us. We're camping here, and he doesn't give a fuck. Like, that's exactly what I want to create right there. We have a little bit of other tips here, but for example, what I very often do here, I have an example later, is I shoot out the light here and I just throw a nade, for example. And nading in this area is kind of hard because it could bounce anyway, and there's like some flooring there, and there's some metal things there, and like, I'll guarantee you, I don't think I've ever killed someone with that nade. But if you're fighting a camper that isn't super good at it, what they're doing is most of the time they'll like stand up out of their position, scared that the nade will get them, and then I'm like, hey, I just heard someone stand up. There's someone sitting there, and that's all I need, because then I know I'm getting into a fight, and I can do my decision making based on knowing that there's an enemy there. And I can start clearing the angles. I can decide to pull back completely, take a different extract. I can try to throw another nade, but more like plan towards where I heard someone stand up. And I think that's the game that you should be playing, is you need to draw something out of the camper that makes it so that you know that they're there, and then you can start countering it. If they catch you by surprise, like the clip from me, like they're behind the pipes, I didn't check it, I should have checked it with my flashlight, they surprised me, they killed me. On the other hand, if I saw the light was out and I was pre-firing again, or pre-looking even towards the pipes, I will guarantee you that I would have killed him because I'm there standing with my HK and a flashlight, and he has a pistol. Like that's not a hard kill to make.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really important about D2 campers. I've marked the spots that are the most common. Personally, I find the long hallway super difficult to fight, and if there's like a group of them holding this big area, like someone is there, someone is below, someone is in this generator room thingy behind the door sometimes, like if it's a big group, that's just super hard to fight, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was gonna say in that big room, in general, it can be tough to spot people in there if they're tucked all the way in the back.
Yeah,
Underneath.
definitely.
There's lots of shadows, so just like I always swear by bringing flashlights in the bunker, just to
100%.
like you can just quickly like spend that extra 10K for a flashlight and just like quickly swipe past like every corner and stuff. Just like you'll be able to tell if someone's there and save yourself. It's just so much easier to do it that way rather than kind of going in there blind. And there's plenty of spots you can sit in that room where it's pitch black. If someone's sitting there, you are not going to see them unless you're like shooting a flashlight directly into it. So
yeah, I think I have a good example. Like, this one, for example. So what I normally do is I shoot this light off, because what a lot of people do is they'll go prone like under the stairs, or they'll go prone like behind the light. And because of how lighting works, it makes the shadow behind the light even more black. Am I saying that right? I think I am.
darker.
Yeah, darker. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. so what I do normally is I just like not as open as this, but I just jiggle peek and shoot out the light, and then put up my flashlight, and that gives you so much more visibility towards that area. And also it makes them scared a little bit because you're shooting already while they haven't made a sound. So it's like it's a bit of mind games playing against extra campers, in my opinion. Like it's these minor things that could help you. And then I'm checking basically behind the wooden thingy. I'm checking under the stairs, and I'm checking on top of this rafter. Because that's where they very often sit. They could double Yuki and jump spot on that pipe there, but I've only seen it in videos. I've never seen it in my own raids. And the last thing you need to worry about people that are just like crouched somewhere in here and popping up their heads. But 90% of the cases, people camping here are at the back right.
Yeah, I would say one thing that I like where I see a lot very frequently is directly to the right of where you're standing, like right in that first corner.
Yeah, right in the right here, there. Yeah, right. Yeah, there's like a wooden thingy there, and they'll sit behind it.
Yeah, and they don't really have much like covered like behind that thing, but like if you're too worried about if someone's at the other end and then you kind of are like pushing forward and stuff, they can catch you from the side, and that can be annoying too. And then they can also like kind of nade from over there too pretty easily.
Yes.
And get you kind of screwed in that little hallway. So it's especially bad if you have like a camper right in that corner and then also at the other end.
That's a terrible one to fight. Definitely, I agree with that one. That's definitely one I'll turn around for if I notice it. Like it's like, okay, never mind, I'm not taking that fight. Like sometimes knowing how to counter something is just knowing that it's a very bad spot that you're in and you're most likely not gonna win it. That could be the best call to make in some situations, especially against extra campers, in my opinion. Anything to add here, Jonny?
Nothing. I think like the biggest things to take away from it are like, if you, like I said, extract campers are only really a problem when you don't know that they're there or where they are. Once you know they're there, it's usually pretty easy to handle them. You need to, kind of try to force them out of their position, and or like make them move by whatever means. And then when you get them staggered like that, then you just straight up push them. Just be aggressive towards them, and it's really easy to kill them that way. And then another thing is, if you're not confident in the fight against the camper, if you're just like feel like you've like whiffed like 3 attempts in a row at killing them, just take a different extract.
Yes.
Like there's nothing saying you have to take D2 unless you're in really specific scenarios or if you have like no time left. So yeah, don't risk it if you don't have to.
All right. let's take a look at some clips that we haven't looked at before we go to the tips and tricks. We can cover this one. We've basically touched it on a lot. I do this all the time. Jonny, I've seen you play some reserve. You do this all the time too. Just shooting out lights. It works great. It makes you so much harder to spot in certain areas. It will throw the enemy off. There's like, I think this is a great example, like the light that is towards generator. You can see the difference. If you're at generator side, shoot off the light, and you're just so much more concealed and darker for the opponent to spot, especially if they're just looking like this or with a holo. So definitely know where the lights are, know which ones you can shoot out, and using your advantage in which situation is a tip I would give everyone about fighting in the bunker.
Yeah, and
yeah, go on.
Since I run with like flashlights a lot, it just makes it like this is like if I shoot out all the lights, then it makes the lighting consistent everywhere. And if I'm using a flashlight, like I just have like I don't know, I think of it like I have control
yeah,
the lighting.
You got control over it, of course. Yeah.
And like a lot of times, like if you have a flashlight and then you're like shining towards a light that's facing you, it just kind of makes like it washes everything out, and it can make it just really hard to see if people are behind that other light and everything. And it's just like way easier, just even if it's dark, it's just easier to have the lighting in general to be consistent everywhere, in my opinion.
Someone in the chat said Jonny shoots with whatever he's holding.
Yeah, I tend to there was a period where like I would always like bring like a PM pistol with me, and I just like
already to shoot the lights out, just
all the ceiling lights. Yeah, I don't know. It was just like I don't really know why I did it. It was just the way I would do it. I'd bring a PM pistol. I'd shoot all the ceiling lights. Like
that's funny though. Like I definitely let's say I have a secondary with cheaper ammo. I definitely use that, but I don't think I've ever brought a pistol for that specific purpose of shooting out the lights. But
I kind of did it more for the memes.
It's kind of a Chad move. I'm not gonna lie. I like it. Suppress TT. All right. Can't use the M62 in the lights. Exactly, man. That's a waste of money. Yeah.
That's some expensive light switches.
Okay, I think I have a clip here that I want to look at, and we can talk over it. It's called Triple. Does that mean you're gonna kill 3 of them?
Oh yeah. So this was with I had my teammate was out in map room ish, or they were by King, and then there was a group of players kind of sitting in the next office from where I am, the next room, and also in like that office hallway. So you kind of see what happens.
Okay, cool. Ooh, some ballsy plays there.
And I thought I got them all, but my teammate calls out, oh, there's another.
Woo, cheeky. Yeah. Why are they sitting there still? Like, that's the question I have very often. Like, this is what I encounter a lot of my reserve fights. There's like a team just sitting in the office, but why are they not splitting up?
Yeah, I think it's just that's what happens when you get a team that doesn't know the bunker well, and like their communication isn't there, or they don't know all their options at their disposal to like you know, they hear a team coming and they're like, all right, let's just sit here and then we each watch a doorway, you know, and like they think that's gonna work, but it's like,
yeah,
there's no way is that ever going to work.
Yeah, you made me think of a really good clip of me that I have. Let me see. I think I can open. Oh yeah, there it is. Okay, hold on. I'm like, how often do I have to say that sitting in Queen is a bad play, right? Like, I have one more example why Queen is a shitty play. Here we go.
Yeah, prime example of why not to sit on top of each other when you're in a team.
Yeah, like, I literally walked through them, literally.
Yeah.
It's funny though, because we both did not know there was 4 of them, obviously, right? Like, Like I don't think any of us did anticipate on that, but they're literally just sitting right there with the 4 of them. Well, they could have taken different entrances. They could have, like, one goes up. They could have naded while the other one held the angle. There's so much things they could have done, and they decide to just all hold the same angle basically, and then I still roll with them. And my partner there was Millsy, Mr. Millsy man. If you know who he is, plays a lot with Chili, a UK dude. Yeah, so there's that one. Any other clip from your side that you would like to go over and talk about? Otherwise, I have one more from another Sherpa right here.
Let me just double check. I have. There's that White Pawn basement one out.
Oh yeah.
That was a good one. Kind of showing how to push people that are like kind of sitting in the basement.
Oh.
There's those. There's a couple there. There's the anticipate angles one. I think that one's good. The using audios, I'm not sure exactly. I don't remember what they were, but they're probably worth maybe checking. I don't know if.
Let's check the black white basement out. Is this one? No, it's not that one. Sorry for every time I click on the link from the clip exactly, it tells me to sign in.
Yeah, weird.
I'm not really sure, so I have to like look through your map to which clip. So yeah, sorry boys, bear with me a little bit. How is that clip called? It's called, oh, I think it's White Pawn basement. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
White Pawn basement. There we go.
So I'm basically taking shots, kind of anticipating and pushing through the doorway. I try to swing up, get the shot there.
He ended up nicely, man. He tries to push you when you push back. I think he really makes a good play there because you have nowhere else to go when you fall back in that angle. I think he plays that good, but you just turn around and notice it and countered on that, I guess. I find
it's all timing. Like
yeah, I find it a very hard area to fight in sometimes because it's really hard to get proper right angles on it, right? Like there's a lot of doors you have to push through on your left, for example. Like I don't know if you have any good tips about fighting in those basements. Like black and white pawn basement are very, very similar. Besides which door you can open and run into and which not, but like they're basically the same layout. I find them very hard to really fight in, and especially earlier on when marked room key was still worth something, you would encounter it basically every raid. But it's still a very popular place to encounter people. Any tips for the people at home fighting there?
Yeah. So a couple things. Just remember that it is for both white pawn and black pawn. It is a big giant circle that you're fighting through between the actual basement hallway and the little like little connecting hallway that I'm standing in here where it's paused, and then the hallway I'm facing, like the actual bunker hall. It's a one big giant loop. So use that to your advantage. Try to get your right hands. Don't position yourself in a situation where you're holding a left hand and you're kind of like stuffed in a corner or something. You're just making it. You're putting yourself at a disadvantage. Try to do. There's lots of times you're gonna kind of end up in this little like ring around the rosy sort of circular fight with someone.
Yes.
Like just kind of chasing each other around the circle.
That can be enjoyable though. Like it's fun.
It's fun for sure.
You're right.
And like it just ends up. Usually those fights end up in like taking a bit, and it's kind of cool because you're both moving a lot. But just try to get your right hands. Try to time your pre-fires. Like you can kind of see there that like I had to react pretty quickly to time like every shot I was taking. I had to kind of time when he was peaking. At first, you kind of see I'm trying to anticipate his holding the angles, and then when I kind of swung out into the hall to take the shots at him at the other end, I tried to swing out a little bit ahead of him to shoot him as he came through the doorway, but I didn't drop him. And then when I heard him running up to me at like the final push, I had to quickly act and start shooting through the doorway where I knew his body was going to be when he swung through. Another thing too is that also just know where your stairs are to get up into the building itself.
So
you have to push up there because
sometimes it works well, man, to just get back up and out, and then basically by going up 1 or 2 floors, you could be in any room and they don't know which one you're exactly in. So sometimes going up the building is the better escape compared to going down in the basement, because then they exactly know where you are, right? Like you're in the basement. There's no really other way to go from there.
If you need to go up and like pack mags or heal or something, just like go up like to like 3rd floor or something, because it's going to take them a minute to figure out what floor you're on. You're buying yourself like at least like 30 seconds. So.
Yeah. And you do have to watch out. Like they'll hear you on wood or glass above you a lot better than you can hear them below you. So be aware of that, of course. So generally speaking, don't sit still on the stairs itself would be my advice. But like go in a room or in the middle of a floor that you can hear people coming. If you're gonna sit still on the stairs, you're gonna be way too late in responding on the actual audio, especially when you're like packing max or healing or something. Like not only on reserve, but just a general advice for PvP is do not sit still on stairs. And even next to stairs is a bad habit, in my opinion. It will get you killed very often.
Yeah.
All right. Lots of good clips that we looked at today. Some more tips and tricks, and then we're getting to the end of it today. We're already at 2 hours, which went over like it was nothing, to be fair. There's a jump that I would say practice if you don't already know about it, but there's like a box or something in the water when you jump from medical. And if you have a little bit of a higher strength, I'm not sure if you need max strength for it. I don't think so. Like you can just touch the edge of that box, and you don't have to like go through water. It will just make a water noise once, and then you're on ground already. So I try to do that as much as possible, because A, it makes less noise, and B, it makes that you're way more flexible in what you're going to do next, right? Instead of just being in the water. So I try to do that a lot, and I think it helps by going down there if you have to. Here's a mind game for you. Sometimes I don't know how you play it, but especially when I'm very early in the bunker, I normally do not pull the lever already, because I want people to come down, and I don't want them to know that I'm there, or give them a surprise at least, right? I'm not saying I'm gonna camp in the bottom room, but like I wanna use it in my advantage. So I normally wait with pulling the power a little bit, in the hope that people will come down because of it, trying to get some raiders. It's something that you can use in your advantage if you want to.
Yeah, I would say if I'm playing in a squad, I like to pull power right away, just in the event that like it spawns in raiders. I don't want anyone to be like out of position when the raiders spawn in, and then getting screwed over, because sometimes it can be tough if you're playing with like a 3-man or 4-man or something, and everyone's kind of spread out. You don't want someone that kind of like sitting on a raider spawn and getting screwed over because you pulled power. So just like kind of play it out and pull it right away if you're in a squad. But like if I'm running solo, what I like to do is like, let's say I'm down there first, and I'm near offices or whatever, and then I start fighting someone by king, but then someone else comes over by like sandbags or something, and then like I'm like, all right, this is kind of a weird fight. I kind of got like a lot of people I got to deal with. Sometimes I'll pull power right at that point just to kind of stir it up a little bit. They're gonna realize power is on and might kind of rethink the way they're gonna push, because okay, there might be raiders, or now I have lights everywhere, and now I'm a lot more visible, and I have to push differently than I was before. So that's kind of like my thought process on it. Like wait for the right time to pull it. It can be a good way to kind of like turn the tides in a fight.
Yeah, I agree. You can use it in your advantage. Another one that goes maybe for saying, but like pulling that lever makes that all the lights go on. So it's the easiest telltale if you go down to the bunker by any entrance. If the lights are up, there is or has been someone below there. Use that in your advantage. Make sure you maybe PK. That's what I normally do when I go down there and I see the lights are up. My brain goes like, oh, okay, I'm gonna PK. I don't wanna like do that later. I'm gonna be watching out for campers. I'm gonna be checking my corners now, even more so if the lights are up, if not up, right? Like I think that's an important thing. And another cheeky last tip for today. If D2 is lighting up green in your menu, that actually means that someone has been on the extract itself. So it says nothing about the lever being pulled, yes or no. It says someone has been on the extract. So you want to know, like, hey, did they extract perhaps at D2 itself already? You can double tap and find that out. It's actually a cheeky tip. I don't know how many people know about that one.
One thing that should remind me of too when speaking on extracts is is if you hear Hermetic get turned on, just like this is kind of just like general. Know your fastest way of how to get up to like Hermetic switch, so that like you can
Yeah.
catch the person that hit the switch. Like
Mm-hmm.
make sure you know just like run right up into White Pawn and how to exactly get to that closest room, which has like the little window that looks right out at to the switch. Because if you're quick enough, pretty much from majority of places in the bunker, you can get there fast enough to catch the person that's running away after hitting the switch, and it makes it for a really easy kill for you. So because it can be easy to kind of like be down there and then you hear the switch get turned on, and you're like, oh man, now I gotta
Oh
listen
no.
to like, yeah, it's like, oh,
I
it's
normally
annoying, whatever, but
take
like,
server. That's normally where I go.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, just like know your fastest way up there from your position and get up there and catch someone.
It could be an easy
Catch
kill
someone
if
off
you
guard.
pull it off
Yeah,
right. Definitely.
yeah, yeah.
Right. I think we touched a lot of ground today, Johnny. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think it was a good topic, man. We had a lot to say about this one. I hope everyone. This was very useful. If you're watching live right now, or you're watching this back later on YouTube, I hope this was of use to you. We also have, of course, Mr. Johnny's reserve video. I will put that in the description as well. Check it out. It's a little bit shorter than this podcast, I would say, but super useful. Has some cool graphics and all that. So that would be appreciated. Johnny, you stream as well, right?
Yes. Yep. It's right now I'm streaming Tuesdays and Fridays.
Cool,
Typically.
cool. And how can we find you on Twitch?
Same name, Jonny Busak.
Jonny Busak.
Same name as my Twitch channel. It's Jonny Busak everywhere. So on Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, YouTube, it's all Jonny Busak.
All right. That sounds absolutely lovely. So I would appreciate you if you're not following this guy already, which you should be, especially if you're a Sherpa. But if not, go give him a follow. I would highly appreciate that. And he will teach you something about dorms, perhaps, or stims, or some other cool things. Can we get a short maybe sneak peek in what your next video is gonna be, or is that still unclear at this point?
So I'm actually in the middle of working on one. The one I'm doing right now is not that complicated. It's very generic because my mindset is this. A couple things. I don't want to get into a big like PvP guide that takes a lot of work right now because
and then wipe hits
like,
and everything is going to be different.
Yeah, and like especially when I lots of time I need to like to make these videos. I need to like have like I need to even have like money and gear in the game to like kind of set it up the way I want to for footage and everything.
Yeah, I get that.
I don't want to have wipe happen and then be like, have nothing at my disposal to like get the clips I want and stuff. So it just kind of makes it difficult. So there's that. And then I also like don't want to have to work on that in like the beginning of wipe. But then there's also with Streets coming out, like that's probably potential. The first thing I'm gonna do. I'm gonna learn a bit about Streets and figure out a video I want to make there. Because that's gonna be like what everyone wants to know.
I'm super excited about just discovering a map again and trying to figure out stuff myself instead of like knowing already where everything is based on, because there's a trillion videos on YouTube already, right? So it's gonna be super interesting for me at least.
Yeah, and like it seems like Streets is there's gonna be a lot of verticality. It's gonna be a bit more confusing to learn, so I'm excited for that because like Lighthouse, while it's a cool map and everything, it was very easy to learn.
It's not really a PvP focused map, right? Like I love Reserve Bunker for how the PvP there is, and I don't have the same excitement of PvPing on Lighthouse. Like there's a lot of exciting things in Streets that could be super really cool places to PvP, and that I just want to go everywhere, go to that area to find the people when I find them there. I'm waiting for that as a PvP enjoyer, but I think Streets will be something really refreshing for all of us, whatever kind of Tarkov you enjoy, right?
Yeah. So roundabout, like long answer to the question. I basically my upcoming video, it's more so tailored towards like very beginners. It's literally just, I don't really know exactly how I'm going to title it or like word it, but it's basically going to be like because since like usually wipes bring in a lot of beginners, it's basically gonna be like the first 5 things you need to know as a beginner. Once starting to play Tarkov, and it's gonna be like just like really basic stuff like that other games don't have that Tarkov has. So just really beginner.
Looking forward to it, man. Thank you for joining us today on the podcast. I think it was a lot of fun. I think we had a great informative topic today. We got to know you a little bit better. So thank you very much for joining us today. course, my name is Seiko. You guys should go, didn't know me. I stream on Twitch occasionally, a couple times a week, especially when there's tournaments. So I appreciate if you follow me and Mr. Jonny below me as well. Appreciate that. I can switch back to this screen, I think. And then I think the only real question is there a Sherpa that we can raid today? And there we go. We're already raiding Mr. Gypsy or Giplo. He's another streamer and Sherpa from the Sherpa Hub. So we're gonna send all the raiders his way. That's a good thing. There's Rengar. Okay, we're already raiding someone else. I didn't raid that, so I hope you did it. Yeah, I hope everyone had some good information today. I hope you guys, have learned something today. And we will see you guys in the next wipe in the next year with a new topic and a new guest. Watch the Twitter space and the Discord on the Sherpa Hub for more info about that. And see you guys next time. Bye bye.
Bye bye, guys.